So it's it's a real and common enough threat out there that real some proper filtration will be needed for a decent amount of this work.
Yes, I would say so. There's been a call out for start sending in N95 masks is a precaution when you're starting to clean up.
Yeah, but I mean, people are probably gonna need some actual gas masks for a decent amount of this.
Yeah. So if you're doing mold remediation, you'll need a Tyvek and a respirator. So some of this stuff is going to get very dirty.
Yeah,
and not healthy.
Yeah, sick. So yeah, very real seaburn concerns. Wow, look at us, Nathan. That's like the first time we talked about seaburn in 2 years.
Hey, I put out that filter guide.
I guess it's a CB. The RN is not really applicable right now, I don't think.
Thankfully.
You're listening to the Art and More podcast with your hosts, Nathan and B.R. Nathan is a Canadian illustrator with a couple years of military experience, and B.R. is a British anarchist that moved to the States. Both are passionate shooters and community builders. Together, they run the Seaburn art page. Enjoy the show.
Alrighty, and we're going. And Nathan's not going to throw me off because this is a slightly more serious episode, and Nathan's usually not present. Nathan's usually not present for these ones.
What do you mean? I try. I wanted to be the Daisy one. I think I got stuck in Tacoma or something.
Something like that. But anyway, hello everyone. It is me, BR, and Nathan, and you're listening to the Art and War podcast. And today we have DJ, who has spent the last 4 days on the ground in North Carolina. 4 days, right?
Correct, 4 days.
Yep, last 4 days, helping with relief efforts and a whole bunch of stuff, which we're going to get into. And the whole thing behind this episode is, one, we want to kind of discuss the situation on the ground right now, and two, we want to separate fact from fiction as much as possible. But
yes,
tertiary to all that, something I want to get into is the fact that, once again, the militia storyline is back. It's, so, on the ground, Appalachian, where out here, people are very self-reliant. There's a lot of training groups. There's a lot of good stuff going on. And so, with all of this talk of FEMA fucking around and getting in the way, which I've got another little caveat about that, but with talk about FEMA and the government basically being inept and getting in the way and all sorts of various extremes of what their participation in all of this has been, the media is now saying, oh, well, militias in North Carolina are making it dangerous for FEMA to go there. And so, don't get too silly with that headline. Just keep that in mind. That is teeing up the perfect fucking fall guy. And it could be anyone out there doing their thing who has any kind of ties like that, should there be a fall guy needed. So if you're on the ground with your training buddies or, your local militia or whatever that is, be very mindful of who you talk to, what you say, how you present yourself, how you carry yourself, and what you do. But with all of that, DJ, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sure you can give a little bit more kind of perspective on what all that looks like out there right now.
Yeah, and for clarity's sake for everyone, today is 10/7. I was on the ground from the morning of Thursday the 3rd through the evening of Sunday the 6th. So I know things change very rapidly. So I want to put a timestamp on it so everyone knows when these things occurred.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess if we want to jump from the very beginning of your involvement and we can kind of address what things actually look like on the ground, because right now there is a whole lot of intel and not all of it necessarily good.
So I didn't pay a lot of attention to the weather to start with. So I was actually on vacation in Asheville and rode out the entire storm.
Really? Holy fuck.
Yeah.
You're very lucky.
We were going to take the little car up the mountains, see some of the beginning of the foliage change, spend a couple nights at a nice hotel up there, enjoy a nice mountain drive back home. And we're like, oh, we see some rain in the forecast. Let's take the Durango instead. And turns out that was such a good decision.
Oh, my God.
And so we were up there. It rained some more. Trees fell through the parking lots where we were staying. Lost power, lost water. Then it took us 20 hours. Took us from Friday afternoon to Sunday morning to get home because we were in an island. Every road was cut off via water or collapse.
Nice.
So we spent the evening on the side of the road at a rest stop, having crackers and water. And then when we woke up in the morning, the rest stop had run out of water. So the state locked the doors and no longer had a functioning rest stop.
Man.
Why?
Yep.
Like, lock the doors to all of the facilities?
Yes. So the rest stop was a parking lot instead.
Fantastic. Doesn't seem like, even
super
without
helpful.
water, that facility might be useful for someone.
Yeah.
Sick.
Still had power, but they didn't have water, so they locked the doors. So we got back on the road, spent another 3 or 4, 5, I don't really know, hours between Asheville and Charlotte to get home. So that was Saturday. Sunday, I was at the Walmart parking lot with Operation Airdrop, loading trailers to get supplies into Asheville because I knew the air transport was already starting. Monday, I was loading trailers with Operation Airdrop. And then I was part of a convoy that physically brought supplies via trailers to south of Asheville so they could start distribution of heavier items and waters and fuels and things like that that can't be flown. Took a couple days to do my day job, the things that pay the bills, and then hit the road Thursday morning with a group I found through Instagram to head up and do... started as maybe some search and rescue and turned into relief and support.
So this group that you went up with, it was Martyr something?
The Martyrs Walk.
Gotcha.
It's kind of interesting. The last month or so, you've had some pretty heavy religious topics.
Yeah, it just keeps on coming back. We're all like months away from being smited, I guess.
It is election season. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, I don't want to be one of those people who's like, oh, after everything's going to continue to be gay and retarded. But there is always that thought that, all the votes get counted and then, I don't know, the rapture. or just, I don't know, Russians. Or just complete societal breakdown. Who cares? Just something interesting. I just want something fucking interesting to happen, guys. That's not a hurricane. That kind of
stuff. Too many
Yeah.
interesting things have happened as of late.
Well, yeah. So it's kind of funny. I am not a religious person at all. So, kind of like libertarians, atheists of the world unite in different places. I
was wondering about that. I was like, I didn't know DJ was a big church guy.
No. So I linked up with this group, the Martyrs Walk. It's a men's Catholic group. You have to go through a series of things to actually be a part of the group. But they welcomed me. They said more the merrier. We're here to help people.
That's cool.
I didn't tell them right up front, hey, I don't think the same things you do, but we got into that later on as we got to know each other. We linked up via Instagram. They said we're doing a collection. I think you might have shared one of those things as well, or a couple of those things.
Yeah.
So they came from the coast, met up in Charlotte. We caravanned. It was 14 guys, 10 vehicles. One of those was a 26-foot box truck.
Oh, nice.
They had a connection with a church up there, Pole Creek Baptist Church, as the base of operations. So that's, they had a community room that they had cots in and some bathrooms, and said, you guys can work out of here.
Nice.
As far as bathrooms, there's no running water up there at all. So everyone knows they're expecting 2 to 3 weeks will be the earliest before any running water comes back to that area.
Damn. Fuck. So is everyone on was it boil water notices?
Yes. So if there's not even pressure, pipes don't work. There's nothing. So people who have power or had generators can still get it out of their well, but if you are on city water, you don't have water.
Yeah.
So water is going to be a high demand item for the foreseeable future, and it could be longer than that the farther you get from the lines.
Yeah.
Or the
Thankfully, that seems to be the thing that everyone like really took to heart, and it's just like the majority of aid seems to be copious amounts of water. Like states, like you can be 2 or 3 states out, and everyone's run out of cases of water.
Yeah.
So, yay, success.
Yeah. Yes. We'll kind of get there's a theme. You kind of see this as we got through. Is the supplies flooded in? It was amazing, absolutely amazing. From the people, people helping people.
Who'd have thunk?
Yeah. Or those are all taglines I've seen. We the people helping people, and Appalachia strong.
Yeah.
But the supplies have come in hundreds of thousands of pounds. The problem is it's too fast, too much, too fast. The goods are overflowing because everyone wants to help.
Yeah.
And now they're running out of storage space up there. But if a week and a half, 2 weeks, it'll be gone. And the fear is that all the support's going to be gone too, as the news, the media, everyone's thoughts have gone on to the next thing.
Well, I mean, Florida's about to get hit pretty good too, so it very well could, kind of distract to that.
So it's a Katrina level event. People are starting to recognize that. I have a lot of family and friends over on the West Coast, the left coast, and it took a week for them to start contacting us saying, "Hey, we heard you had a bad hurricane over there."
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sleep Little Appalachia is always the last one to be thought about. It's fucking horrible, but it's reality.
Yep. So we were up there, 19. When we got there, we ran into a few other guys come up from Georgia. Awesome dudes. They brought up a big side-by-side and 300 gallons of fuel.
Holy shit. Very
55 gallons. Yeah. So they were just giving it away. Anything they could fill, they were filling up.
Damn.
So yeah, that was kind of how I met up with a guy named Logan through Instagram, and probably at the end I'll share the links with you guys, or the usernames, to give them the credit they deserve as well.
Yeah.
But met up with them. We started a caravan, of course, out of a church to a church. So I don't know. Do you want me to just kind of run through the whole series of events and the days, and then we get into questions?
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Right.
and if anything comes up as we go, we can kind of pause and ask. The one thing to start with, you mentioned in your stories that churches were like preferred collection points. Did that start from a lot of these charities being church led, or was there like additional stuff to that?
There's more to that we kind of came into after 5-6 hours on the ground.
Gotcha. Okay,
people there.
If we'll naturally get to it, then don't worry.
I think we will, but I'll try and make a note to talk about it.
All right.
Yeah, so we got up to Pole Creek Church about 12 o'clock. It's kind of slow having that many vehicles.
Yeah, especially 26 foot.
Full, right? So we get there, we kind of park all our trucks off to the side, and not even 20 minutes that we're kind of just trying to figure out what we're doing. The first Chinook comes in. The church has a baseball field. So if you don't know, I'm sure most listeners here do, but that's the helicopter with the 2 separate rotors. It's the big one.
Yeah, the last vehicle out of both Vietnam and Afghanistan.
So it landed in the baseball field, and we got Poliano and said, "Hey, we need help unloading." So our whole crew pretty much ran down to the helicopter about a quarter mile away. And the Air National Guard, I believe, was dumping MREs and cases of boxed water.
So had they connected with anyone local to do that, or were they just finding like spots to stash and distribute this shit?
That's a great question. I'm not sure how they figured out that first one. It wasn't marked. My understanding is there was some sort of communication, but it doesn't sound like anyone was actually prepared for it to be there.
Yeah, because you were saying like it was just a helicopter crew. There was no one on the ground to unload.
Yep. Nope. No ground crews. No anything. It's the first time I'd say they did a hot drop. So rotors didn't stop, engines didn't really turn down.
Yeah.
And have you ever been really close to a fire when you're adjusting the logs and you're like, man, I think I'm going to get burned?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it felt like unloading the back of this helicopter.
And how are those? How is it being? I've never been that close to a Chinook. How is it approaching one of those fucking things while it's still running?
I mean, we all had some dudes were just raw dogging it, no eyes, no ears, just ran up and started moving stuff, and power to them. Because of my work, I had ears with me, and like I got glasses that are ballistic rated anyway, so I'm happy as a clam. But and you can tell some of the guys have never been part of like a chain gang unloading.
Yeah.
They're trying to like carry individual boxes out. It's like, no, get in line, pass it to each other, get the thing out.
Get it the fuck off.
Yeah. It was cool. I was like, when I got there, I didn't know what to expect. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be my next 4 days.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but cool way to start. As the Chinook landed, then a private helicopter landed beside it, started unloading smaller items and medical supplies. And it's as it's been dubbed the Appalachian Air Force.
Yeah.
Right. There's hundreds of small personal private helicopters coming in and out all over the place. So we finish unloading the first Chinook. We get a message. We got 30 minutes till the second arrives.
Like, I guess this is what we're doing today.
Yeah. And as we're standing there, we get a call down because we've got radios and we found out what frequency they're on. Hey, interjection, radios. If you don't have one yet, buy a Bofang. Just buy one. It's $25. It's cheap. It's silly. It may break. At least you have something.
Yeah, and every other person has a Bofang. Like,
I supplied 6 radios to our convoy because people didn't have them.
Do you just have like a stash of cheap Baofangs to pass out? Nice.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Hey guys, it's BR with a quick public service announcement. If you're enjoying the Art and War podcast, help us spread our message of liberty, preparedness, and community building by following us and giving a 5-star rating on Spotify or on your platform of choice. Your support makes a massive difference in the show reaching more listeners. Don't forget to check out our Patreon and sponsor links in the description. Your support keeps the conversation alive and thriving. We massively appreciate you guys, we have done amazing things with you and hope to continue to do so. Thank you very much, now let's get back to the show.
So we get a call like, hey, is anyone able to help with security? Like,
who was making that call?
There's a guy, and so we're operating under a security company, Prepare with PCS. Again, I'll share that link to. It's one of his requests, right? But he was helping organize. He's a private security company. He goes to the church, works with the church. But it was him and some church members as security. I will say with 200 people in that parking lot, probably 150 people had pistols on their hip.
And then some had long rifles, right?
I don't want to talk too poorly about people doing their best. But one dude had an AR and he was just swinging that sucker around. And I'm talking like a two power Tasco and like a mag to the side of it and a sling that he wouldn't wear. So he was just had it in his arm, the AR in his arms, or just pointed up or just moving around with it.
Yeah, guaranteed it's not zeroed.
Yeah. And I found out he's 74 years old and he's volunteering to be security. So you know what? More power to him.
Yeah.
That being said, it did not present a deterrent.
Yeah.
So they said, hey, we've got a few reports. Anyone able to run security? Well, of course, myself and one other guy brought all our kit. So we're like, why not? So we threw on our plates, pulled out our shorty ARs.
Yep. And
went out to the parking lot. It turns out that there had been a couple shootings at gas stations. And we were talking about how rumors of it, and one lady's like, no, I was there. It's not a rumor. So, okay,
So-
okay, well,
Yeah, to start with, because there's, whenever these things happen, instantly there was talk about, like, oh, well, don't run your generator because the looters will come by, and, like, I get it. Looting is a thing that happens in disasters, but day one it was like, okay, we're in Mad Max now. It's like, okay, let's confirm exactly how real that is, so we're putting resources towards what we actually need.
yep.
But, so the shootings at gas stations and stuff, like, basically a first-hand source on that.
Yep.
But you mentioned a couple of other things that were kind of like unconfirmed, and
and one of the guys had said, well, yeah, the church down the road got held up at gunpoint, and they took a truckload of supplies instead of just an allotment. And he kind of described how they did it. So probably happened. And they had a truck visit multiple times with aggressive people, to the point where they took pictures, wrote down license plate, wrote down vehicle description at the location we were at. And they said, we expect they will probably try and come back.
just kind of like not leaving unless they get some shit kind of attitude.
Yeah, and belligerent and trying to be argumentative and just, not a community member.
Yeah.
And they said they'd get out. There's a distribution line, so you pull up, you say what you need, and people bring the stuff to your car, so you can get out of your car, but you're not really leaving your car.
Yeah.
And these people are getting out of their truck, going into this distribution area, and taking stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's fucked.
So they said, if you see these people, or if we need help, can you guys? And we're just private citizens. We're not hired by the security company. But so it's show of force as a deterrent.
People
That's
are driven to do things that
if
they
something
wouldn't
goes wrong,
do otherwise. I think
defending life and
the
liberty
people who aren't
is
community members and the people who would actually do dangerous things.
Gonna
Well, I
happen.
don't think
Yeah.
it's majority or even like a lot of people at all. I'm kind of glad that there's a deterrent for that, because this is kind of a rife situation for this sort of thing to happen.
Yep.
That's-
So we'd had the reports, we'd heard it, so we said, yeah, we'll strap up, and got a lot of people loving it. I've never been thanked so many times in my life.
Have there been any incidents of? I have not been ears to the. I've gotten most of my information from you, actually, and kind of the people in the Discord that are closer to that. But have there been any incidents of looting or violence?
I can't say for sure. I have not witnessed any. But there are a lot of reports of it. So if there's a lot of reports of it, it probably happened a couple times.
Yeah. A lot of reports of like the same thing potentially and all that sort of thing. Something I'm like, these things make me consider less lethal and more like citizen, I don't know what the fuck you would call it. Basically not quite a combative role, but like peacekeeping as a civilian. Do you have any kind of like flexi cuffs on your kit at all?
Maybe.
No. I mean,
I brought 6 pairs with me.
I don't think that's like a bad call at all. Because I would much rather like get a couple of guys to like secure a dude and flexi cuff him than be like, oh yeah, during our supply distribution stuff, we had to shoot a guy because he was a little upset that he couldn't get more than everyone else. Like it makes a lot of sense to have
Yep, I did.
in these kind of situations not to go like full. I have 600 rounds on my kit and more like maybe I can swap a few mags for some flexi cuffs and like a taser or a non-lethal. And
So
come
the head
on,
security
absolutely.
guy. The head security guy was carrying a taser and a rifle.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting a lot, so I had 60 rounds in my rifle.
Yeah.
And I people are gonna probably tear me apart, but I didn't bring a spare mag for the handgun. Just what was in it.
Well, I mean, you were coming for you brought armor and a rifle, and you came to help. Like primarily.
That's kind of a secondary concern.
Yep.
No, and it's good that you met it, so you could fill that role and flex to that role if you needed to.
Yeah.
But that's another thing that is kind of worth like touching on it within all of this is like, okay, for all of us dudes who, we're prepared for like, the shit to kick off. It's like, okay, well, without being like autistic and retarded, like how can I be both useful in that role if I need to be, as well as like, okay, I would have brought more water, but I had to bring my nods and my second plate carrier and my second rifle.
Well, so I'll throw it out there. I brought, along with the 2,400 pounds of water I was hauling,
Yeah.
I brought 40 gallons of gasoline, a generator, a chainsaw, a shovel, boots, all the food I needed for 5 days.
Yeah.
Again, I had planned for 2 days to be there. I flexed to 4 days.
Yeah.
So I brought enough food for 5 or 6 days. I brought clothing for 5 or 6 days. I brought 10 gallons of personal water, air compressor, so fixing flats.
Yeah.
So I was fully self-contained. So I would have no draw on the local resources.
Yeah. No, I did that shit right.
And then I had my concealed carry handgun, which I used predominantly, except for the times, when I was running security. So day one was probably the most highest threat level. Because we were then on day 4. Yeah, day 4 without any real outside assistance, or the assistance was just starting to get organized and come in any substantial amount.
Yeah, so after that first day, like helping out the National Guard and stuff, what did things look like past that day?
Yep. So we actually did fire watch, 2-man rotating shifts, or 2-man 2-hour shifts throughout the night, running security, make sure no one came in and tried to steal stuff overnight.
Yeah.
We did kind of a debrief, debrief at the end of the night, and a morning brief. What are our security risks? If there's hostilities, we're just guys out here. We're people. We're not cops. We're not guard. We're guys out here helping. If they want the stuff that bad, just let them have it.
Yeah.
Covered medical. If you find cadavers during your work, what are our order of operations? What contacts and authorities? Just the basic stuff we need to work effectively out there. So day 2, we knew that the church was well staffed.
Yeah.
You could already tell the tensions were easing with so many supplies coming in. People weren't as afraid anymore. So we split. There were 19 guys at the end of day 1 in our group. So we kind of split roughly in half, maybe 60-40. Some of the group, 3 guys drove in from Colorado. A search and rescue team drove in from Colorado.
Shit. Like professionals?
Yeah.
Damn.
So the guys with the fuel and the search and rescue guys and a couple from our team said, we're going to go find the worst areas to start with.
Yeah.
But the other part of our group, what we're here to do is not search and rescue and recovery, but it's also supply and rebuilding and assistance. So we're going to go down to the fire department in the neighboring town and see what they need. We still have a truck of supplies to give out. So we went down to the fire department. They said, hey, we're good here, but we're setting up a distribution point 1.5 miles down the road. Why don't you guys go help set that up and unload your stuff there? We said, perfect. So half that 60% went to the fire department with us, and they said, okay, we're going to keep going down the road, and you guys go to the distribution site. So the group went down to Bat Cave, and if you're local, you'll know it if you've heard it on the news, but Bat Cave was not really in good shape. A lot of places aren't in good shape, but supplies are coming in. So that's where the highlight is. It was interesting. We got to the fire department. There's 7 firefighters from 3 different departments there, having a chat about how none of the radios work together and how the infrastructure, and there's no standards anywhere.
Nice.
And they've got like a table of supplies.
Oh, fuck.
So we unload our entire trailer. It's a probably 16 by 40 covered awning area. I would say we filled it, but we filled it at a base level with the supplies we brought. And we started getting the word out, hey, this is open. This is open. Come here to get your supplies. At that point, a recall came in that the Biltmore Church was on fire, and other people needed rescue, and they had found, pretty cryptic, but they found bodies on a mountaintop and needed recovery.
Ah, fuck.
So the whole fire department's left, and it was just this Martyrs Walk group running this brand new supply depot.
Oh, fuck.
So we had people coming in, started talking to people, started advertising, but you don't think about it. Hey, we're going to post on Facebook. We're going to spread the word far and wide across the world that I have a distribution point right here. That doesn't help the people there one bit because they don't have power. They don't have cell signal. They don't have anything. They have no way to know besides word of mouth. But iHeartRadio, for all the corporate media that it is, was doing active radio notifications of distribution sites and assistance sites. So you could tell iHeartRadio, and they would hop on and say, these sites are open in these counties or these places. You can get your stuff there.
That's cool.
And then, again, why is ham important? I hopped onto the Mount Mitchell repeater and tried to tell through the Mitchell repeater people that it's open, because a lot of people have radios in that area.
Yeah.
And then layering technology, because I was in a valley, I couldn't hit the repeater. So I hopped on my phone. Of all things, T-Mobile was working. So hopped on my T-Mobile phone, hotspotted to my Verizon phone, and then was able to use Signal to talk to people in Charlotte so they could get into the repeater to tell the area that we had a supply station open.
Nice.
Like using all the technology possible to do the simplest thing.
That's your pace plan right there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Met a lot of people. There's a lady, I'm not going to dox her. She's a local to where we were. I call her BK.
BK?
Yeah, BK, like Burger King.
Yeah.
She was absolutely amazing. She knew where to go, people to talk to, had all the contacts. And then she, started talking to us how we could help get things out. She knew the people at the fire department. And let's see here. I got a little comment here I wrote to myself. I'd asked the fire department because I had heard that FEMA was there. So we'll get into this a little bit too. I'd heard the FEMA's at the fire department. So I'm talking to the guys before they all went to their calls. And the consensus, the discussion was that FEMA is not there to confiscate anything, but they will, quote, redirect, end quote, the supplies to keep things better organized and controlled so that they can ensure the supplies are going to the places they are needed.
I hate that. I hate that. The federal I love that. The federal government always knows what to do with how to most, properly and efficiently manage resources.
Yes, us dummies could never find hungry or harmed individuals and provide aid to them.
They definitely wouldn't get helicopters with weird black ops spook types wearing masks to buzz piles of in literal Blackhawks. Like, who the fuck owns a Black Hawk helicopter to buzz piles of relief just to ruin them?
Yep.
The federal government would never do that.
No, never.
I don't think they did even once during all of this.
Hey, are stingers legal? Can you just buy one?
Only if you're a
I think you had a guest previously that might help you with that. So
HK will sell anything to you if you're not a U.S. citizen.
But BK was awesome. She also said, "Hey, we have a PTA," and another lady was with her. Said, "Our PTA wants to help. Can we do supplies?" And I was like, "Look, the biggest problem is that," and this is where churches came in. Churches are hollowed ground. The government cannot do anything to churches.
Yeah.
So all the donations that go to churches are safe. If you get to roadblocks and you have a contact and essentially a contract with a church, you're going through. At least that's what we experienced up there. So you said, look, charitable organizations, churches seem to be safe right now.
Yeah.
So, well, we're a PTA. It's a 501c3. It's like, so your goods will be safe, but a school is government property, so they can control your access to it.
Yeah.
She said, okay, well, I think we can work that as long as the supplies are safe. I think we can work with that. It's like, okay, we'll be happy to help you with whatever you need, setting up a middle school nearby. So we're going to do more with them on day 3. So we do some basic supplies, give out some things, talk to some people. About 8 o'clock at night, we head back to the church, which is 30 minutes away. Do another debrief, get a little bit of dinner. People have, people brought in trailers, campers, and they were cooking meals for all the volunteers.
Nice.
There was so much support pulling in. Is not just the people who needed it because they lost their house, or they lost half their house, or their neighbors lost their house, or there's now trees decorating their living room. So we just regrouped. Let me tell you, there's no running water. So how do you shower? Either you use wet wipes, or you take a jug and you pour it over your head while you're trying to wipe yourself down. That's fun. So, we get our 6 hours of sleep. Because we're getting up at 6:30 every morning. It's not. Any of you who slept in an army cot. It's not the greatest. It's not the worst. It's not the greatest.
You're ready to get up at 6:30.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I'm done laying here.
Yeah.
So day 3, again, the team split. So we came back together at night. We discussed what we saw, what we needed, what we didn't need, best ways to approach the next day. So the team split in pretty much the same fashion. The first team, the SAR team, went further. So they went out to Swannanoa, Black Mountain, Old Fort, and Bernardsville. These are all places you might hear in the news or in stories. And then the team I was on went back down to the brewery where we had set up distribution. I was there first. I was working. We gave out a lot of stuff again, but still slow as we're trying to spread the word. And everyone that comes, we say, tell your neighbors, tell your family, tell your friends. One person left, and 3 minutes later, another person goes in and said, hey, I just talked to this lady at the gas station. She said I could get food from you guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes, absolutely. And we're starting to get trucks in. Every time someone shows up at the fire department and says, I have a donation, they say, go there. Go to the brewery, unload there.
Good.
So start talking. The PTA lady comes back, says, hey, can we go get water and get supplies from the FD? Like, sure. So part of the crew stays at the brewery. I load up my car, or the Durango with the trailer, head over there, start running into some of the first responders, the firefighters that I've seen before over the last few days. BK's there again. And as we've got some people helping, some kids came with the parents for the PTA, so I'm having them help load the trailer. We get it loaded up. They're working on loading a minivan, like a Suburban or something. I'm talking to some firefighters, an EMS standing there, and I'm like, so I heard FEMA's here. And they were chatting. I'm like, heard FEMA's here. I don't see FEMA anybody. And they're like, we're with FEMA. I was like, really? They go, no, we're like the search and rescue. We just got told by FEMA we should come here and help. Like, oh, okay. What about the other FEMA that I'm hearing about all the terrible things? And they're like, well, there's someone over in the office. There's a meeting going on right now, but we're not part of that.
Mm.
They really want to be very clear. The evil government FEMA is not what they're part of.
The regular fire department guys?
Yeah.
Mm.
So one thing we found out, though, is that after that first day, the fire department was no longer, they will direct supplies, but they were not sending any more people to help at our station. I'm not going to make any judgments on where that decision came from.
But it was sudden and following said meeting.
Maybe. I hate
Curious.
to just spread conjecture.
No,
but
I
there's
mean,
certain,
yeah.
certain things follow the other things.
Yeah. No pattern recognition.
but we were able to collect water and supplies as much as we could carry out of the FD. So there was nothing being withheld. It just wasn't actively being provided to us.
Gotcha.
Very slight difference. The supplies were still available though. So we load up the trailer, go to this middle school, and as we pull up, there's a big giant tractor trailer of potable water, and the National Guard's there, and they're giving out. You bring your own container for potable, or they're giving out MREs and boxed water.
So at this point, they've actually got like a ground presence.
A little bit, yeah. And when I was we've already discussed. I'm armed fairly heavily for the environment.
Yeah.
I'm not overtly. The AR is it's tucked beside the seat, and I've got a Glock on my hip, open carrying. It's in a Safariland retention holster. So when I'm at the FD, and there's some sheriffs there, I'm like, hey, North Carolina, it's illegal to carry on school grounds, but I'm being directed to make supply runs to a middle school. What am I supposed? What's the statute here? What's the take? Like, we know there's no school right now. It's just a building, but what are we thinking? And all the cops were like, we don't care. It's not a school. And really everyone has guns right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine
Correct.
by us. They said,
Correct.
but if there's an officer there, you should run it by him first.
Okay.
Yep. You might see where it's going. So we get to the school, and there's two officers at the front. And I get, of course, the guy who's clearly less comfortable with guns is the one who comes to my car.
Sick. Yeah.
Yep. So I roll the window down. I say, hey, so I just want to just run something by you real quick. If you look in the passenger seat right there, and I'm not moving. He goes, like, you see and he's like, oh.
Like, oh, good Lord, dude.
Yeah. And then I'm like, I got the gun on my hip too. And he's like, oh. I was like, yeah. And so we both know that generally you can't carry guns on school property. But I've been to the FD, talked to the sheriffs over there, and they said I was good, but I should run it by you. And he's like, so you talked to the FD? And the guys are there. Yeah. And they said it was good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you were there, and they said this was okay. Yes. So we did this whole thing a couple times. He's like, well, could you take it off and put it in your glove box? And it's a Glock 35. I'm like, no, it's not going to fit in the glove box.
I can leave it on my seat like a dumbass.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
He's
I
like,
can
okay,
keep it
well,
secure and promise not to shoot anyone.
He's like, I'll walk over there with you and make sure everyone's good.
Okay.
Okay. So we go over, and this lady comes up to us, and she's a county manager who is working there in coordination with the FEMA. And she's like, we can't take your supplies. It's like,
Why?
ma'am, I'm aware. This is your site. However, the PTA is going to be using the gymnasium to house and distribute supplies to the families in need. It's like, well, did you get approval for that? I was like, man, we have the key to the building. So yes, we got permission. It's like, well, okay, I guess you guys can unload in there. So we start unloading, and she comes over, and of course the cop's sitting like 8 feet from me the entire time. So we're unloading water. She goes, no, you got to keep it separate from ours. Our stuff is here. Your stuff has to be over there. We can't mix them.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's fine. If that's your rule, fine. We won't mix them.
Yeah.
And so one of the PTA ladies is out there talking to her, and it looks, I wouldn't say animated as too much, but it's not just a calm conversation.
Yeah.
But I just I interject myself a little bit. I walk over, introduce myself, say who I'm with, what we're doing. She's like, well, have you reached out and talked to these people about it? I'm like, no. She's like, FEMA resources. I'm like, no. So
Look, I'm actually just here to help. I'm not here to fill out paperwork or do any of that gay shit.
The assistance and interactions we received from the government have not been super helpful at this point. So we're working with private organizations to make sure supplies are properly distributed.
Nice.
And she's like, well, you should you should email Helene Relief at xcounty.org.
Yeah.
And someone monitors that, and we'll get back in touch with you on the better ways for you to assist.
Great.
Are you even serious?
100. And I was like, okay, no. I went back inside and started unloading water. And I was like, okay, we're unloaded this one. The PTA people are going to stay. I'm going to go get another load. I'll be back.
Yeah, I'm not doing any of that.
Right, yeah, not 100% not doing that.
Shut up.
So I go back to the FD, load up another 3,600 pounds of water, drive back to the school. Through some detours in traffic, I've found that roads just don't exist anymore.
Sick, yeah.
Or you're driving down the road and you see trees in the road and you're like, oh, I thought this was cleared. So you stop and then you realize there's a 15-foot gap that's 8 feet deep. Because the road just totally collapsed.
Jesus.
Perfect conditions to be backing up massive trailers.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, let me see what driveway I can get to turn around. And you turn around and you're driving down a different road and the road is one lane because the other half has fallen off.
Yeah, yeah.
So I get another load to the school. It's still, tense is even too high of a word, but it wasn't agreeable.
Just awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward frustration.
Yeah. Like, why are you doing this to us? We're here to help. We're here from the government. We're here to help.
Well, clearly there was something better you could have been doing, like answering emails or.
And so the guard was there. Apache wing out of North Carolina was there, but Apaches aren't super helpful right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a ton to.
They were there on the ground helping, securing the site, transporting MREs and water. They were irritated. They're like, we're doing nothing. We are wasting our time here. We could be helping. We asked, like, look, can you get permission? Can you come to the fire department with us, load up this giant ass, 6-wheel drive vehicle and bring back, 20 tons of water?
Yeah.
That got turned down. They weren't allowed to.
What the fuck?
Yeah. They could not assist us. And they're like, yeah, we get sent on these, it's missions, right? Everything they're tasked to do is a mission.
Yep.
So they had a mission to take supplies to this other school. So they loaded up all their trucks. They made it most of the way there, and they got a call. They said, no, we're changing location. You're going to this school. It's like, okay. So they turn around and go to a different school. And they get most of the way there, and they get called back, and they go, no, actually, we're going to go back to the first school and unload there. Like, we were just there. That's where we started. Like, yeah, unload there. So they're just having them drive in circles.
Yeah.
I ran into another engineering division. Their job was actually clearing the river and looking for bodies. That's a sucky job.
But very important.
So they were working. People running security for the water distribution, they weren't happy. But so the FEMA wasn't blocking it, but they weren't helping.
Yeah, just kind of very, very average government experience where they are interjecting themselves into a process they have no need to be a part of. And not only not really helping, but in fact slowing things down.
Yeah. So did the 2 loads of water, went back to the brewery and finished out the day, giving out supplies, getting the word out more, talking to residents. Finished about 8 o'clock. So spent 4 hours there organizing and giving stuff out. Headed back to the church for another debrief, planning for the next day, meeting up and comparing notes of what everyone saw, where the destruction was. So the team that went to Swannanoa, Black Mountain, Old Fort, they said Old Fort is very badly damaged, but it's well supplied now. Black Mountain, very badly damaged, well supplied. Swannanoa, very badly damaged, not nearly as well supplied. So they were going to go back to Swannanoa for day 4. So day 4 comes around again, lovely sleep, another shower with a bottle over the head.
Nice.
The dudes I mentioned, the dudes gave out 300 gallons of fuel. drove out of town, filled it all up again, came back.
Wow.
They went to RV parks, filled up every generator they could find. People were coming up with empty gallon jugs, with bowls, anything they could hold fluid to collect gas from these guys so they could keep generators running.
Yeah.
So then our group went back to the brewery. To me, interesting, heavily Catholic group. I'm sure some of you guys will listen to this. Everyone went to Mass. Everyone went to church before they went back to work on Sunday.
Someone right now, I'll say this for them, based.
So I ran the place by myself, the heathen that I am. I worked on the Lord's Day and so I kept giving out supplies. So we're getting a lot of people coming in. After I got people to come reinforcements, to help distribution and all that, I went back to the fire department to get more water. The school was like, any water you can bring us, we will take, because we know we're not going to get water forever. So as much as they'll give you, we'll take. And the brewery is like, we need pallets. We have so much stuff. We need to get it off the ground before moisture soaks into the boxes and or ants and insects figure out there's food here.
Yeah.
Went back. Do you guys know, and you might end up bleeping this or not, but Brad Sheevy?
Yes,
Yeah.
I love Brad.
Yeah. So,
Garlic Brad.
Yeah, Garlic Brad. He's been working the whole time in Charlotte with Operation Airdrop.
Nice.
So we're sharing needs, locations, helping convoy coordinations. But the engineering group I told you about have been doing the waterway sweeping. He was Alpha, they're Bravo, so he knew a bunch of them. So I was able to go over like, hey guys, Shivi, come help me load things.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Word.
So they helped me load 2 separate trailers of water throughout the day. And it's the camaraderie and competition. So I get to the school where the Apache wing is. I'm like, the engineers over in Bravo helped me load it. You think we can unload it faster? So I had the guard was helping a lot more.
Yeah.
I think part of it is they just got sick of doing nothing.
Yeah. I mean, the end of the day, they're human beings. Yeah.
Yes. So finished the trailers, 4 trailers. To give you guys an idea, I moved while at the brewery to between the FD and the school. It was 14,000 pounds of water. That's 13,000 bottles of water.
Nice.
And what I brought and that, it's 16,400 pounds of water for just under 15,000 bottles of water. It's a crazy amount, and it'll last not even a week. So, and then I was like, there's a lot of reach out here. There's a lot of eyes. Finally, there's a lot of eyes in these areas. Do you, the PTA, do you, the locals, want us, the voices, to add pressure and get the FEMA people and others to cooperate more,
to
be more assisting? And they said no. They said, after you left, we had a very frank conversation with County Lady and said, it looks really, really bad for you to be helping and not allow them to help us. And they said they could only operate from 12 to 4 because it's a government yeah. So that was the thing on, day 2, day 3, day 4, the FEMA said that the PTA could only operate on the school grounds from noon to 4 p.m.
Get the fuck out of my way. What?
Jesus Christ.
It's
bureaucracy.
Like all of our distribution sites that are church run are generally 9 or 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The one at the brewery was 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
It was technically a branch of the Pole Creek Baptist Church. And we had their information taped to the wall. Like, we are this. So the gov said, this is our site. Not in less words, but it was definitely what was said. This is our site. You can be here from 12 to 4.
Wow.
So PTA is waiting for .gov to leave because they know they will, and then they'll run it like they need to. So that's the 4 days. Some of the things, locals started to volunteer at our satellite sites. They'd come in, they'd get their things, they'd be like, look, I got no power, I've got no water, I've got nothing left. Can I come here and help give out stuff? Can I do something here?
Yeah.
Like, absolutely, we'd love it. We need help organizing. We've got trucks coming in all the time. You can give it to your neighbors, right? Yeah. You can pass the stuff out. We had a guy come, and he's like, I just want some water. And I was like, this whole thing, you can pick it. It's like, just water. And he didn't speak English. We were translating through a phone. He's like, just water. It's like, no more. And he's like, he saw that we had apples. And he saw that there was bread. And saw these other things. He started collecting it. And as he's going through, another guy pulls up. He's like, I just need some gas. If you got that, I'd love it. My generator's running low. We're like, we got that. We have 22-gallon containers over here for you to take. Take one. And, we got some coal. We had some propane. We had all the food supplies. And he takes a little bit. And then the first guy's car doesn't start. So the second guy pulls out the jumper cables, jumps it off, starts and dies. It turns out a mechanical problem. But between all three of us, we fixed it. Both of them went on their happy ways. The vast majority of these people, they've lost. They're telling me these stories that, their house was spared, but the other side of the street doesn't exist anymore because it slid down the hill.
Yeah.
They said, we were sheltered, some part of the house away from the trees. And that's great because now I have trees in my living room, trees in the bedroom, trees in the, half my house is gone. But they'd come in and they'd take, 6 cans and be like, and then a case of water. This is all I need. I'm like, we have a ton of supplies. Please take more. Grocery shop here. We have a wide variety. We have fresh fruit and we have fresh bread. This will go bad if you don't take it. Please take this stuff. And they're like, no, people are worse off than me. They need it more than I do. And that was just amazing.
Yeah, that's what I've heard time and time again from a lot of people who were passing out stuff all over the Carolinas, was the people saying, like, that you roll up to their house, or what's left of their house, they've got nothing. And it's like, no, go find someone that's worse off than me. Like, just everyone.
Then a story, where we were, there's a house next door that it's gonna be condemned. But the couple came by, and to give you a scope, 100 yards behind the brewery is the former creek. The elevation is probably 6 feet down to the creek to the surface level, and there's probably a 2-foot slope over 100 yards up to the brewery, and then there's a 15-foot drop or rise up to the road. The water went to the road.
Holy fuck.
So the brewery was up, 8 feet, 10 feet underwater. Or inside. The house next door is tilting a little. And, we're just, curious about what happened. The house behind it, the foundation is in one place, and the house is a quarter mile laying on its side down the road. Yeah. Or down the creek, essentially. But the couple comes by, and they're elderly. And they said, we've never seen the water rise like this. So it came over the creek. It was kind of coming up. We didn't think anything of it, right? It doesn't ever come this high. It's not really raining that bad right now. And because of that drop, by the time it got to where they were like, oh, crap, this is actually not stopping, they couldn't get their car out.
Oh.
And then it kept rising. So it went up the 4 feet of the deck and into their house, and it kept rising. So they collected what they could and went upstairs. Now, this is with no power, right? They have flashlights. They go upstairs. The water keeps rising and rising and rising. It comes up the stairs. So they're in the second floor looking down at water. And they sit there through the night just listening to trees slam into the side of their house. And when they finally get daylight again, the houses around them are gone.
Fuck.
Like, that is the most terrifying thing I can think of. Like, that is horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Sobering.
yeah. You know, I saw an Instagram post recently. It was like, you know, I prefer to cry alone. um, there's been some of that. You know, grown men do cry. I have seen the most destruction I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to the bad areas. Right. My mission, what I was given to do, what I volunteered for, was the easy work. Right. Not because it's what I'd love to be the cool guy that goes out and does rescue and does all these other cool things and goes and cuts trees and clears people out so they can all celebrate that they could get down the hill finally and get resources. Now, I gave out canned goods.
Yeah. I mean,
but, you know, I had a guy come and he said, what do you have? Him and his wife, what do you have? And I was like, whatever you need, look through it. I don't know what you need, but you do. Take what you need. And he comes out and he goes, you have socks. I was like, yeah, you can have a whole pack. He's like, really? I was like, yeah, take the pack of socks. And he turned around, he sees the pillow. He goes, you have a pillow? I can have socks and a pillow? And he started to tear up.
Oh, fuck.
Because those were the most important things to him right then. I had a guy come in and he said he was collecting food for his elderly parents who were still essentially stuck. They were too elderly to get out from where they were, but he could get his truck there.
Yeah.
And he's collecting food for them. And he gave me probably the biggest heartfelt hug I've ever gotten, just out of sheer gratitude. So, you know, some people can give time. Some people can give money. Well, a lot of people have given money. Some people have given time. But when those two things come together, that's when we're really making that difference. You know, we, the people on the ground, organized, serving the communities that need it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of my 4 days in a nutshell in an hour.
No, I mean, there's, you know, like you were saying, there are so many things going on out there right now, and what you saw, like the destruction you saw, was more or less what you could access via what roads remain to an extent, right? And what's what kind of area were you were in, like Asheville and around that kind of area? Like,
yeah, so and while I'm looking at the map real quick, the Pole Creek Baptist Church that we were based out of and, you know, spent the nights in was serving 2,000 meals a day.
oh wow.
Or, you know, the supplies for 2,000 meals a day.
Yeah.
Like, that's so we were based roughly 6 miles west of Asheville. And then the town of Fairview is southeast of Asheville, about 10 miles as the crow flies. It's about a 30-minute drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, the greater Asheville area, we kind of drove around the bottom of Asheville every day to get to the places where that were more heavily hit. Asheville, Boone, just south of Asheville, and Hendersonville, those big name cities got a lot of effort and got a lot running really quickly. Part of it's just infrastructure. Part of it's because they have a more defined areas and ability, and you're not just in the mountains.
Yeah.
So those sites, those are doing a lot better. But when you get further out, you know, while they're well supplied, some places they're well supplied now because there just aren't people there. They ran out of body bags.
Oh fuck! Seriously?
Yeah, like they've been using you know, a couple of 55-gallon contractor bags. The local area I was in, from what I heard, had 87 confirmed deceased. The greater Asheville area has over 2,000 people missing. And I've heard over 100 have been found at the Lake Lure area, probably from being washed downstream in the floods and mudslides.
Yeah. People really are only just starting to begin to appreciate that this is like a Katrina level disaster.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's weirdly little coverage about it. You know, if it wasn't for social media, I think what it looks like is being downplayed quite a bit.
I see that too. I mean, I don't actually have cable or news, so I get a lot of mine through social media for the pros, all the pros and cons that come with that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where most of our audience is at. It's like, well, I know if I'm seeing it, on my parents' TV at their house on, the network news program of choice, it's likely not real at all. So, obviously we've got your kind of firsthand experiences from what you saw, and then we didn't touch on this at the beginning of this episode, but those of you who follow us on Instagram and those of you in the Discord will have seen us post asking for your questions on kind of what are people wondering, what are they, what's missing from the story, with the coverage out there so far. So unless there's anything else you want to kind of hit, or if anything comes up as we ask these questions, we've got a bunch from our various listeners and followers.
Some of them are very schizo. Very, very, very schizo.
Let's go like 75, like 3-1 normal, like decent questions, and we'll throw in a few of the autistic stuff just for
yes,
so we don't get too serious on this program.
Keep it lighthearted
as much as you can with people being put in contractor bags. Holy fuck!
That aren't pedos.
Legalized Stinger missiles.
Fuck it. That's for my purposes. I kind of want to start with that. Have you seen the black helicopter video, DJ?
Absolutely, all 3-4 minutes of it. Yeah.
Does that mimic anything you've seen in person? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, BR.
Oh no.
No, I have not seen anything like that in person. The only helicopters that I saw dropping any goods were Chinooks and private helicopters. North Carolina has 16 Blackhawks. And there are Chinooks, being the joys of talking to the guard. We have 16 Blackhawks in North Carolina, and Chinooks were called up from 6 different neighboring states. So a lot of birds in the sky, but nothing like that video.
Yeah. So I don't want to, like our primary source here. I don't want to color you too much one way or the other, but like, do you have any thoughts on what the fuck that was about?
Oh my gosh! How this isn't a yeah. It's
if
not
you want me and Nathan, me and
yeah.
Nathan can just say our thoughts if you don't want to.
No. I don't trust the .gov at all.
Yeah.
I would hate to say that even any pilot would willingly go along with a plan or order to fuck things up like that.
Yeah, because like it's not negligence.
No, that is pure intentional destruction.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. It's horrendous. And that's where the legalized Stinger missiles, as I was watching it, I was like, if that had happened at the church I was at, it probably would have been
tickled.
Yeah, that's what most people I've shown that video to have said. Like,
it was definitely close enough.
Worse. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't have the context, there is a video going around of an unmarked black Black Hawk flying over a supply distribution center. And for anyone who knows anything about helos and stuff, when you fly over an area like that, all of the wash from the
rotor wash,
rotor wash, like you fuck up anything not tied down beneath you. Like, you're kicking up dust, you're throwing shit everywhere. It is not a great place to be as a human being. And the helicopter you see in the video, it flies over this supply distribution center and kind of like hovers, and everyone's like basically saying like, no, do not land, giving them all sorts of markers like fuck off basically. And it just kind of hovers and like lingers around
circles
for a
little bit.
Yeah, and then it comes back like way too fucking close, and the rotor wash is like blowing shit everywhere. And it's not like coming in for a landing. It's like just doing this shit for X reason, and then fucks off. And it's like, fucking why? Like, seriously? And that's not just some civilian pilot who has a Black Hawk. Like, that Black Hawk came from somewhere, and from, I don't know to what extent this is confirmed, but the helicopter doesn't seem to have any readily available information, and apparently the pilots were masked. So it's like, okay, fucking why?
Actually,
Yeah, I didn't see anything like that. It's wild. I can't imagine someone. That helicopter was 50 to maybe 100 feet up.
Yeah,
That's close.
yeah. Like, if you were throwing out fucking like life-saving supplies out of the back, and it was just some dummy who was a bit overzealous arriving 4 days after the fact. Okay, cool. Someone's got some like spicy nostalgia from Afghanistan. They're just trying to do their best. That is not what the fuck this was. It was fucked up to watch.
Yeah, it was very much on purpose.
Yeah, and with that, it's like there's so much shit going on about FEMA. Like, I want to be very clear about this. Like, fuck the government in general. Their ineptitude is what makes disasters way worse than they are in the first place, because they stifle people being able to help.
My mind jumps back to Katrina, too. This is not a new thing.
Yeah, confiscating guns and generally causing unrest and shit. But,
so BK works at the fire department and had been doing recoveries and collecting addresses for welfare checks, and been very successful at that for 4 days. Then FEMA showed up, and five names were put in, and a day and a half later, 0 checks have been completed. 0 people have been authorized to go out and find those people.
Excellent.
They said that everyone, as soon as FEMA got there, and apparently it's only one person, but as soon as FEMA got there, everything ground to a halt because everything had to be approved before it could happen.
I've heard rumors of like water inspectors going missing in Wyoming for similar silliness. But that has nothing to do with this conversation. I've just been bumped in the head too many times. But no, what I want to be absolutely clear about with addressing all this FEMA stuff is, like, I want to find and penalize the government for everything they are actually doing that is harming Appalachians and good normal people on the ground out there. But at the same time, like, we can't be going off the rails with things that aren't happening, because then the critique is easily dismissed and then they continue to do this. Like, everything that they are fucking up right now needs to be documented and syndicated so it's undeniable. And so with that, like, I really want to dig down and separate fiction from reality. But the Black Hawk thing, this video, Black Hawks are not just, they're not Toyota Corollas. These things are not fucking everywhere. It takes quite a bit to run a Black Hawk helicopter. So that is some weird government asset doing...
Yeah, and the fact that it's not on FlightAware or anything like that.
Yeah, that is some kind of government asset doing some shady, fucked up shit. So that's something we have video of happening.
And I took subtle videos where I could.
That's something to release quietly, or who are those? I'm annoyed as hell at these guys, but you can't deny the reach and influence they have. Project Veritas.
Yeah,
they're kind of like boomer media, but they still do a pretty good job putting this stuff out.
Yeah. I recorded my shoes quite a few times.
Hell yeah!
Well, I'm just texting. Ignore me.
Yeah. Don't worry about this. This will come up at your fucking trial, lady.
It's weird. It's not even incompetence.
Yeah.
It's the insistence on waiting for someone higher to make a call to avoid all blame. That's how my take.
Yeah.
So, all right, next question, I guess. If we've talked about
this is actually a really good one from our prop master friend down in Georgia, Matt Zarnowski. So he
I love Matt.
Matt's a good boy. How can people support the next phase of rebuild since supplies are more or less taken care
of? Winter is coming. If we want to go all Game of Thrones,
absolutely.
The mountains are already starting to see temperature drops. There's a cold front coming in. The temperature is getting into the 50s and 40s in some places. When you don't have a house or water, that can be a very dangerous thing.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of requests for blankets, for hand warmers or hot hands, or propane little canisters, cooking canisters, the Coleman's stoves. If you have low power space heaters, since it's probably running off a generator, there are still supply convoys running. Samaritan's Purse, the Martyrs Walk, who I was with, they're all taking donations financially, and then cleanup crews.
Yeah.
Try and find an organization. Spruce Pine, I've seen a call out for help this week to go up, clear logs, and shovel dirt. Some of these houses have 1 or 2 feet of mud in them.
Yeah.
And that's not a tear down. That's a fix. So they need people to go up and move logs and clean dirt and just start the general rebuilding and repair. So they're asking for trash bags, shovels. Not everyone can donate a chainsaw. But if you have time and energy,
contractor bags.
Yeah. Masks. This stuff that flooded from the rivers is causing mold. Mold is deadly. It makes you sick. So an actual reason for N95 masks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of you may still have 3,000 or 4,000 stockpiled. I don't know.
Hey, props if you were selling them to dumbasses a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So hand sanitizers, soaps. Food is taken care of right now. Probably 2 weeks worth of food is on site based on the current donations. But hopefully don't lose sight that after 2 weeks they're going to be going hungry again. Water, they probably have a week, maybe week and a half of water on site. After that, they're going to need more water again. So things to keep warm, things to clean with, and then we need it still, but just slow down the pace for necessities for your food and water.
All right, this is a good one. So it's kind of a two-parter. So most used comms and items you didn't know you needed.
Comms, the Bofangs.
Most
the
used?
Mayofang, or the most used item. That and the vehicle with the trailer. And that's kind of a pro and a con. We had a ton of people show up with their $80,000+ trucks and their $30,000-$40,000 side-by-sides and a case of water. They didn't help at all. They clogged the roads. They wanted to be a hero, but they had no organization, no direction, no place to go or be. And they just drove back and forth all day trying to find something to do.
Nice.
Don't be that person.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, most used was our radios to start with. The Bofangs, the B-Techs, if you're on GMRS, they're super useful for communication, organization, figuring out where people and things were going, hitting the Mitchell repeater to hear what was going on in different parts of the area. I was very well stocked, so I didn't need anything while I was up there. Again, that's a preparedness mindset and almost a leave no trace from camping.
Yeah. I've seen your stock room. You know what you're doing.
So I can't answer the second part. As long as you come prepared to work, you should be okay. Double whatever water you think you need, double any food you think you need. Unless you want to just stay dirty, bring a way to clean yourself and have extra clothes. Gas stations are starting to run again, but it's a cash society right now. So yeah, cards are worthless.
Yeah.
I found this out when we were stuck up there trying to leave. Gas stations, A, had no power, B, had no gas, or C, they were fully running, but because the internet was down, their POS systems didn't work, so you couldn't buy anything. So cash was king up there. Grocery stores, cash. Walmart, cash. Gas stations, cash.
Monthly based.
Yeah, no one has cash these days.
Yeah, no, I don't have. I only have cash for fun things.
Yeah, so that I guess that'd be something if you don't know you need. It's probably getting better as time goes on. But hey, this is a call out, and it could put a couple $100 in your safe.
Yep.
Right? That's achievable for most people.
Yep.
If you can stack more, great. But keep a couple $100 up to the side.
That is probably one of the most underrated prepping pieces of advice.
And not in hundreds. Like
fives,
tens, ones, right?
Yep.
If you have $100 bill, that coffee is going to cost you $100.
Yeah. Do you have change? Brother, it's a miracle there is not water around your ankles right now.
Right, yeah. So yeah, I hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah. One that I guess I kind of want to just like hit on the head just so we've addressed it. Because we didn't really so far with the conversation is FEMA confiscating supplies? What can we say about that?
I witnessed zero confiscation.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of stopping supplies. So where checks or roadblocks were set up that were being manned by a government group, unless you had a church credential or a SAR credential or something that you had a paper. I have a piece of paper in my truck that gave us permission to be places. They turned you around and said you can't come here.
Man,
what was the reasoning behind that? Do you know?
Incompetence? I don't know. I have no idea why.
Because,
it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, the reason that, like, the quote-unquote most reasonable reason I've seen for that was that apparently there were approved, like, private groups that I guess were on the contracts for providing supplies during disaster relief. I don't know how true that is. It sounds like a very pay-to-play government lobbyist kind of scheme. Who fucking knows?
I heard it was to keep traffic down so that emergency and rescue operations could continue unhindered by traffic.
Not entirely unreasonable.
Yeah.
Depending
but it's
on
also maybe
how
just
bad
trying to come up with a reason to make it make sense.
Yeah. Because telling people don't bring supplies to people who need supplies, you're liable to meet God very quickly if you do that in a situation, depending on how bad things are.
And I'll say that secondhand because I've heard it from people coming by ours saying, we got turned around. Can we drop stuff off here?
Huh. Yeah.
Now, I don't know what they ran into. Maybe it was just a road closed because it didn't exist anymore, and they got turned around. So I don't have the full information there, but people were getting turned around at some places and not allowed to go through.
Yeah, but you didn't even secondhand hear. You didn't hear any situations where people were having their stuff outright taken by FEMA?
No, zero of that. Not even rumors of that while I was up there.
Okay, cool. Because that's something,
Yeah,
maybe
I've seen rumors about it.
And that's the thing. Like, maybe it's happened, but it takes one, like, so much of the intel I'm seeing is, like, a Facebook post.
Yeah.
Like no pictures, like a paragraph of text.
I was running the brewery distribution hub.
Yeah.
While we were there, we were receiving reports that FEMA had shut it down.
Yeah, like that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
It's the whole like Facebook boomer industrial complex. It's like I for one appreciate the propagation of misinformation and actual information. Because like we already know what the government feeds us is bullshit, but at the same time I do think that the propagation of actual just rumors is more harmful than anything else. My mind immediately jumps to there's Haitian criminals shacking up inside apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado. That's something that was actually substantiated. And then the whole like the Hells Angels are coming to kick them out, and there's this like it is hilarious to see what Facebook comes up with, but at the same time, like you got to take everything with a grain of salt.
Well, yeah, especially like my fear is prepared dudes acting on Facebook boomer posts as actionable intel. Like, okay, let's go down there and show FEMA what we're made of, brothers. Like these guys are little clipboard pussies who are inhibiting things, but like let's apply resources where they're needed and not kick up a fuss where they're not. You know,
Yeah,
like
the Catalina wine mixer's coming, just not yet.
yeah,
Yeah.
like. Interestingly, another question is: does FEMA wear body armor?
The answer is no. The
Yeah.
answer is absolutely.
Someone asks: are insurance companies actively working in the area? Are they also lowballing estimates like the rumor? I don't know if you saw anything like that in your time yet.
um, there was so little FEMA presence, and insurance presence, and anything. I mean, there's not phone coverage, so
Kind
I
of too
don't
early.
think insurance is involved yet.
Yeah,
Some people maybe are getting stuff involved, but no one's going to lowball quotes yet because we haven't even evaluated the damage.
yeah, fair. So,
Now it's insurance, so 100% they're going to lowball the damage or the cost estimates because that's what insurance does.
Yeah.
But no, not on the ground right now.
yeah.
Yeah, I brought in FEMA there because they're that whole we'll give you 750, sign up for it now. I've heard all sorts of ads for it, even on the radio is playing it now. Like contact FEMA at these addresses for assistance, and
I've seen.
Asheville's got commercials playing for FEMA will help you out and help you pay your rent and help you pay your bills and help you pay your
$750 is like 2 trips to the grocery store, motherfucker. What the fuck do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that's where FEMA came. You asked insurance. I went to FEMA just because of stupid radio commercials on the way home.
What's a supply and a skill they've needed that's not always talked about?
Ooh. We had a huge, and it's probably because winter and cooking, we had a huge demand for those little Coleman 1 pound tanks. Huge demand, very little supply.
Yeah. It's like, that's somewhat a niche item until you're like, oh yeah, everyone has something that could use this.
So that's one item. The pillows and blankets caught me off guard, but I guess when your house is gone.
Yeah. Was clothing a thing?
A lot of the sites won't accept used clothing, so it has to be new.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of weird.
It's a I think government thing about spreading bed bugs and lice.
Yeah.
But so we did get a lot of new packaged underwear, socks, some thermal layers or base layers. Not a lot of people picked those up, but the people who did were beyond grateful that they were there.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you end up like, up to your waist in not only like muddy, dirty water, but potentially sewage water and all the rest of it, like that's fucking grim.
When we say that there's not power, there's not water, but people don't go to that next level. There's no laundry.
Yeah.
So whatever clothes you have that are there is what you have.
Yeah. And then you're moving in them, you're sweating in them, you're already filthy, and you're like exerting great effort to travel anywhere. Like it's gonna be pretty, and it's like it's not cooling down for like people don't realize this. They think October and they're like, oh, we're in fall. Like last Naughty After Dark, we were hiding in the fucking shade a week before Halloween. Like it's still warm out here.
Well, so we're 80s during the day, but it's dropping down into those 40s and 50s at night. So yeah, you get
fucked
hot
up time
working.
for disaster. Yeah.
Yeah. So and a skill. What was that question? Was a skill needed?
What was it? What's a supply and a skill they've needed that's not always talked about? So kind of touched supplies, but is there any skills out there that were kind of lacking that they could, like, if there's people who can do X thing, are they in demand?
If you can run a chainsaw well,
yeah, I can see that.
That's in demand. There were calls for more doctors and nurses, but I think that's mostly subsided for rather unfortunate reasons.
Kind of past the point. Past the point where
it's unfortunate.
So, but just basic, this is something you should all know is basic first aid, maybe beyond some basic first aid. Those things, those when you say your minutes count and don't get an infection, be able to clean a wound. Those are skills you should have that will always help.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. Are there any conventional wisdom solutions that you recommend against seeing what you've seen?
Convention. So false wisdoms.
I guess conventional wisdom, like this usually does the trick, but didn't in this case.
I mean, it was 1,000-year flood.
Yeah.
So, when you're 20 to 30 feet above the water line, you think you're fine. But I watched, they said the gorge or one of the dams was putting 1.2 million gallons a minute. Like there's no way to forecast that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the way, your whole valley is underwater now. It hasn't been for 200 years or whatever the hell.
Yeah. And so when you say, it's like 8 feet from the bottom of the creek to the level, and there's a field, and then it's 15 feet to the roadway, and the road was under 2 feet of water.
Yeah.
And a field takes a lot of water.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think any conventional wisdom you had that didn't work is just because there was no way to expect any of this. In trees, you're like, I'm not even in a bad area, or I'm in a field and your house is gone because a tree took it out. What the hell? Well, that 30-inch diameter tree was being thrown down by the wall of water.
Yeah.
Like it just took out a wall.
Fuck.
So yeah, there's no real conventional wisdom here. Even in the mountains, you should be safe from water. It goes away, but there was so much of it, the whole mountainside went away in some places. Yeah. So I don't. There's not to me conventional wisdom here that would have worked.
Yeah. Gotcha. Nathan, you got any decent questions from our Discord? Or should I just carry on with Instagram?
God. Yeah, one of them is actually pretty good. It comes from a Seaburn specialist, and Happy Son. I love this guy. He's a wealth of knowledge. I've been sitting on a guide he's written for a little bit because I suck. What Seaburn considerations need to be taken into mind? I imagine the areas could be filled with all sorts of unknown hazards. I've also heard rumors that there's some really rich deposits of lithium in the mountains, and they're trying to displace people to take it to sell the rights off to mine for lithium batteries and stuff. So you get a real question and a really schizo one. So.
Yeah. So the schizo first. The lithium mines, while they are slightly impacted because of road closures, they are not near this.
Okay, that makes sense.
Not really. They're not really affected. So they'll be up within the week. They'll be back to business. As far as Seaburn issues, a lot of the sewage, right? Pipes. If you flush your toilets, you collect water. You flush your toilets. That's going to go to the nearest broken pipe and dump into a creek somewhere. There is sewage, there is matter. There's no trash collection right now, so people are burning trash. Their stuff is getting dumped in waterways, intentional or not. Mold is starting to grow over a lot of stuff and in houses. One of the guys with us was doing some shoveling and dirt cleanup, and he came back with a nasty cough, and that was 8 hours later. Oof. Now maybe it's just because he's breathing dirt all day, but
yeah, I mean
that's a consideration.
I don't know if is that what you were referring to, like because Brad was asking about PPE because guys are getting toxic dust while they're doing like recovery efforts.
Yeah. Actually, his was independent of that statement.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So it's it's real and common enough threat out there that real like some proper filtration will be needed for a decent amount of this work.
Yes, I would say so. There's been a call out for start sending in N95 masks is a precaution when you're starting to clean up.
Yeah, but I mean, people are probably going to need some like actual gas masks for a decent amount.
Yeah,
of this.
Yeah. So if you're doing mold remediation, you'll need a Tyvek and a respirator. So some of this stuff is going to get very dirty.
Yeah.
and not healthy.
Yeah. Sick. So yeah, very real seaburn concerns. Wow, look at us, Nathan. That's like the first time we talked about seaburn in like 2 years.
Hey, I put out that filter guide.
I
know.
guess it's a CB. The RN is not really applicable right now, I don't think.
Thankfully.
Yeah. I also have the question: where do I send ammunition?
I don't want to give out my home address, but you can message me directly.
You'll be in the tags. I've seen your stash. You don't need more ammo. But
there's never enough ammo.
There's never enough ammo. I feel that.
But when I was up there, I did ask some of the guys if in some of the cops and fire departments if they had any spare 5.56 because that first day was a little tense.
Yeah.
It turned out, the threat levels or whatever, but it dialed way down the longer we were there. Again, as I said, as all those supplies, it was evident how many supplies were coming in. The threat level dropped substantially.
Yeah, it's literal supply and demand.
Yeah.
Fuck. I am running out of questions that aren't about FEMA.
I got a question.
Literally the devil.
Is it as God? How can I phrase this in a way that's not? Screw it. Is it as satisfying to collect FEMA caps as it is to collect blue helmets?
I could only imagine that they would have a similar feeling.
I mean, these guys are just kind of fucking like dorks with a clipboard. They're like little appointed despots by the sounds of it. Compared to like an honest to god blue helmet.
The FEMA interactions and the FEMA stories and the few touches I had with FEMA, none of it was good, but none of it was overtly bad either. It was just incompetence or covering your ass the entire time.
Just kind of pathetic human beings collecting a paycheck. Yeah. The story is old as time. Like, it's a jobs program for retards who can hold a clipboard.
And when someone says, "Well, this is what I have been told I can say," like that's I am done. That is all you had to say. Nothing else matters.
You are a non-person. You are a cardboard cutout, so the government can raise its hand and say it's here and show attendance.
It's an NPC that I'm clicking for dialogue.
Yeah, skip. I mean, that. It's one of those really unsexy things about how evil and useless the government is. Is like, they don't have to be, like, sitting there pointing a machine gun at your private citizen convoy delivering supplies and demanding you hand everything over. Like, they can be just ineffective dorks and be basically just as evil and still serve no purpose without being like some mustache twiddling bad guy. Like, they're just kind of useless cunts.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of it. Like, if the first scenario had happened, I think it would go kinetic very quickly.
Oh, they would have been fucking trashed if there had been any like and that's the thing that really leads me to not believe a lot of the like more hardcore reporting of like, or whatever you want to call it, of like, oh yeah, this stuff's being confiscated. I'm like, I don't know if people would let them do that shit. I think FEMA would just kind of be sent the fuck home. Like, there would have been some assaults at the very least.
Yes,
like, it's the Appalachian Mountains. Stuff goes away up there.
especially right now.
Feeds directly into one of the other questions, which is like, how many federal employees and how many federal agents have gone missing?
I can only hope a fair few.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, because with all the negative of the government, you have the people from EMS and firefighters and all the linemen who were directed down there. Those people are putting in work.
No, absolutely.
So, they're also technically the government. in this case. So that's why I want to, they were also very clear that they're not part of FEMA, even if they're directed by FEMA.
Yeah.
No, and right on. Like, there's, for all the shit we might talk about government, like, some people collect a government paycheck. They're doing that because it's what they understand and know to be their way to contribute in the best way possible. Like, if you're a firefighter, rock on, do your fucking thing. If you're sitting there telling people they can only show up and help from 12 to 4, get fucked and drink some unboiled water immediately.
Pick up a shovel and bury yourself in the mud from this place.
Yeah,
I would be shocked if FEMA was bringing their own supplies to feed their own people. If they weren't just like, there's enough stuff here to make.
They're probably feeding them the MREs off the back of the truck.
Oh, I fucking hope so. I hope they're not shitting for like a fucking month after being assigned down there.
No, and again, the guard guys were just as irritated that they had been activated to go stand there and babysit a water truck.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like, that is the number one problem you can see from all of this, is the government just showing up and like raising their hand, showing attendance. Like, whereas, as you were saying, the people who are going to help out and know, like, okay, there is a timer on this. People are going hungry, people are hurt, people haven't been able to get to where their parents or grandparents are because they're isolated. Like, this is all on a timeline. This stuff needs to be executed immediately, which is why, like, when things were coming through, like the no-fly zones and stuff like that, it's like, that's
another one.
Yeah.
So the no-fly zones.
Yeah.
While I was there, I heard rumors of NOTAMs and restricted flight areas. They were posted all over Instagram. We had the one confirmed report of the the fire chief who told a guy he couldn't continue his flight. I don't know if you've heard that one. Like, he went to
picking up his son.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So that's confirmed. But thankfully, I think Instagram has done just as good of a job as dispelling that. Right, the actual pilots are going on saying, "No, I've logged in. There's no active flight restrictions over these areas."
Okay, good.
There was a post from some air traffic control with the government saying, there were nearly 30 mid-air collisions or collision alarms yesterday because of the 500 helicopters in the air. We should really consider restricting or limiting, and everyone's like, no, get fucked. These pilots are way more competent than whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
You probably have mid-air collisions because you have 2 helicopters coming into land.
Yeah.
So they're too close so their alarm goes off. Like, your radar says it's a dangerous thing.
Yeah. If there wasn't...
No, I have not seen anything on over flights, collisions, flight restrictions. Nothing like that has been witnessed or communicated to any of us in the 3 landing zones we were operating out of.
Yeah. You'd think you would hear something.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big old fat W for the Appalachian Air Force.
Absolutely.
Okay. Not too bad for a bunch of hillbillies. You got any more Discord questions, Nathan?
No, the conversation has devolved into something completely unrelated, and it's still going.
I probably don't want
taking pot shots at looters. And some of the FEMA guys are packing heat, but now it's more a discussion than questions. The rest of the questions have been mostly covered by you.
Fair.
Ironically, one of the things is, I wonder if that Blackhawk scene fucking with people is the same one we saw during the Las Vegas shooting.
Spicy.
Rabbit hole. The firefighters would neither confirm nor deny if they had guns on them.
Space. Hell yeah. We've kind of touched on the looters thing. It was like a thing very early on. You see this conversation come up every single time there's a natural disaster, but the whole like, oh, well, running your generator is just gonna let the looters know to home in on you like fucking wolves.
We had, so there was a video of one of the Walmarts that had about a foot of water in it, and it looked absolutely wrecked.
Yeah.
So I think there's a good chance that it was gone through.
Yeah, and I mean, with that kind of stuff, like in a disaster, like I get it, like to a degree, you will get like the TV section does not need to be like fucking fully emptied. Like that's obviously fucking looting. Now, if like all of the non-essentials are more or less untouched, and like the food and your essentials like diapers and all the rest of it has been picked through, like okay, fair enough. People are just in a panic. They're getting what they need. I'm sure it wasn't very fair how people got their shit, but people were just getting their shit. But yeah, if everything is fucking gone, then yeah, you got some looting going on.
Yeah. Toilet paper. People, we're getting a ton of toilet paper, paper towels, things like that. Shelves everywhere are empty. All I don't know if you've gone to the store recently. Toilet paper's gone.
I've seen shit has been running, like bottled water has been running low in Arizona. So with love, I don't know what you fucking retards are doing, but
well, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna run out of toilet paper." It's Appalachia needs it, and then the longshoreman strike is gonna make the supply limited. And it's like, retards. We make toilet paper here. There's like 40 toilet paper mills in the U.S. Like that doesn't get shipped in. It's not going to run out.
God damn it, people.
So, well, yeah. It was wild. Absolutely wild up there. Like I said, I didn't go to the bad parts just because I accepted some people might say menial. It's not. I mean, I struggle for the right word sometimes, but it was a less glamorous job.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but it was, it's just as needed. It was probably more fulfilling, honestly.
Yeah, you could have pulled a Tim Kennedy and given like someone's grandma like a piggyback out of a house and made sure that someone was there to document it all.
That was,
and then you could have come on the podcast and tell us about how brave you were. But no,
that's as staged as Kamala's visit.
Yeah. Oh fucking hell!
Kamala's, yeah.
She's already back to the swing states.
Hey, you know what? She made sure she told people they could get their $750 loan.
Yeah, I can't believe they flew her in to tell them that they're gonna get less than they did when there was when the flu was going around. Like, are you fucking serious? My grandparents drowned. My apartment complex broke in two. All the roads into my town are fucking gone. Like, my dog's dead. Like, yeah. 750, and rent is due. Like, sick. Thanks, Kamala.
And it's so funny. I'm getting these. They're like Asheville. Oh my god, it's so blue. This law firm comes on and does a radio segment about how it's illegal for landlords to evict you right now. It's like, fucking what? Their building is half gone.
Yeah.
They're like, you have a right to stay. Even if your building is damaged, you have a right to be there. That's great and all, but do you want it fixed?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the commercials, there's scammers coming out now about, this much down and we'll fix property for you. We're going to fix all your roofs. We're going to fix all your this and that. And then they just, God.
I hate the vultures that take advantage of
people. So yeah, the vultures have come out. And I'm hearing that from people who are picking up supplies. Like, I've already been called. So, and it's I guess they must have T-Mobile because that was the only service working up there. Which again, T-Mobile, how are you doing that?
They got some Starlink going on or some shit.
Starlink was huge.
Oh, do you have a setup?
As soon as I knew I was going, I ordered one, and it arrived 5 hours after I left.
Holy shit!
F.
So, but the church had one set up. A couple other locations had them set up. So I was doing roughly daily check-ins with friends and family.
Yeah.
to make sure they knew that I was still breathing. Because there's not communication up there otherwise.
No, and honestly, like the information on where is even affected has been really poor. Like with love, and I'm very thankful. A lot of people have been reaching out. So many people are like, BR, are you okay where you are? I'm like, oh, believe me, I wouldn't be posting memes and shit on my story if like things were fucked up. Like I'm all good, and thank you and much love. But like around here, like the wind knocked some extra wood from my trees, which I will be using for my fire pit. So we are fine.
Charlotte lost power. You both know my cabin in the woods.
Yep.
The bridge survived because it's built like a tank, but the road on each side washed out.
Fuck.
Again, great neighbors, people helping people. Guy got his heavy equipment and has already fixed the road around the bridge.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah.
Again, we're self-sufficient up here in the mountains.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the future, dude. I mean, it really is the future. Things like this are only going to push Appalachia further to independence. Like, I mean, it could go either way. Either Appalachia gets bought up by BlackRock because it's been absolutely fucking eviscerated and people, already in a bad spot don't have the money to rebuild, or people make do with what they've got and they say, don't fucking touch me.
Well, I'm horrible with memes. I don't know why. I just can't do them. I can't make them. So, but my thoughts come to Hunger Games, right? You have District 12, like it's filmed in North Carolina, right?
Yep, Appalachia.
Poor mining town, nothing's working. And then you have District 13 that the government wiped off the map. Yeah. Like it was some combination of the two was going on here.
Yeah, I can see that future.
Right? And, people fighting over food. We didn't see it, but right, they bring in the food. You have to compete for it.
Oh, fuck.
So, those were the things popping into my head as I'm going through this war zone over here. I mean, it's what it looked, I haven't been to war. I've seen pictures and videos of a lot of it.
Yeah.
They look kind of like what I saw up there.
It had to have been pretty unreal. I mean, these are all places that you've driven through before, being, on this side of the country in this area, only hours away. Like, how was it seeing, American homes and townships just destroyed like this?
Rough.
Yeah.
It's rough. Places that I've known, I've visited, done family vacations to them. I've hiked them. And they're not there anymore.
Yeah,
like they just don't exist. So it's not. I'll probably give it 3 months, right? A respectful amount of time before I go up there in a non-helping capacity.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, I was too young to really track Katrina, like the recovery efforts. Are you aware of like how long it kind of took them to get back to any semblance of normality?
That's actually come up on the short scale, 6 months. On the reality to where you can't really tell it was destroyed, 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be quite the long road.
And here, these towns, right? These are developed. This is family land, and there's not, it's not a major shipping port. It's, you have historic Biltmore where rich people made rich people things.
Yeah, there's not exactly like too much industry to demand like, hey, fix this so we can get back up and running. It's more like, hey, industry left here a while ago and people still like this area, so
yeah. And it's I don't do a lot of politics. I think mine are pretty clear normally, but it's one of the bluest places in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of conjecture about how that will either aid or hurt the rebuilding effort.
I can't imagine remote work and cafes are going to rebuild Asheville anytime soon.
Yeah.
And the art district isn't going to do it.
Yeah, the gift village I don't think is going to drive.
Yeah, I've bought some
Recovery.
cool bumper stickers in Asheville. I don't think that's going to
Did it say coexist?
Yeah, well, I mean, so you'll be surprised. I bought 10 of them last time I came through. No, no, most of mine are little green leaves. But no, I mean, there's not really much to stir growth or regrowth. You know, like aside from people's generosity and will to rebuild, and whatever government money they throw at them, last Hail Mary to secure, the local votes. Who fucking knows what that's gonna look like?
Yeah, there's a schizo one for you. The government created the weather and drove the hurricane to this spot.
Oh, that's my favorite one. The weather machines.
And I've heard it's to help Harris and it's to help Trump. So both sides have schizos going on, weather rants.
I just need to hear what Q thinks about this. Is this part of the plan?
Yeah, it was a wild experience. A heartfelt shout out to all the first responders and people do this every day. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
The stuff that you see. I talked to some of the guys who were, a day after, 2 days after, pulling body parts out. The guys, using thermal drones to do recovery, or I should say they're using thermal drones for rescue. Now they're using thermal drones for recovery. But if you know about a body, it's going to go to room temperature, and thermal's not super effective for that. However, the scavenging animals put off a heat signature.
Oh.
And that's how they're finding cadavers now, is by the heat of bears and coyotes and vultures. And so it's
Appalachia.
It's still wild land up here too.
It most certainly is. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to think where we go from there to end the show.
Yeah, it's
fuck.
We said this would be one of the more serious episodes.
And that it was.
Yeah. You're like, on that happy note, okay, bye.
Yeah. All right. A nice kind of way to wrap up. What are some good organizations people can either, sign up to donate their time to, send supplies to, money? What can people do to start helping out?
Because they hosted me, and it's a good group of guys, and I've seen what they're going to do with the money. The Martyrs Walk. They have it's The Martyrs Walk. It's a website. It's an Instagram handle. Doing great things. Samaritan's Purse. Also on the ground doing great things. I think you're an asshole if you donate to the Red Cross. Don't do that.
There are, there's some fishy shit going on behind the scenes. Unsurprisingly.
Fortunately, unfortunately, the best places to donate to are religious based. Most people are going to love that. I think there's a lot of great with it. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But you find those church groups, find those organizations. They are the people who's going to make sure the money is used correctly.
Based. Hey, as long as people are getting helped,
It's funny. The guy up the group I went with, the guy who started the Martyrs Walk, he's sitting there saying, you just had a drive. Something told you had to come up here and do good work. And he goes, I'm a fisher and you're a pretty big fish. You want to come to mass with me?
Sir, are you flirting with me?
Hey, I heard about how big my gun was so many times.
What can I say? I'm a big boy.
Yeah, between my beard and my pistol, I just got a lot of comments.
Yeah, you stick out a little bit in the photos.
Yeah, it was
Mr.
funny.
Gray Man.
Yes, the hair has changed color.
That's not what I was saying it for. It's distinguished.
I was telling with Operation Airdrop, and I was part of a caravan convoy bringing supplies up on Monday. We can't bring water up; it's too heavy. Can't bring fuels. Putting things in trucks. There were a couple sets of ladies with horse trailers. 26 foot, 28 foot, holds 2, 3, 4 horses, full supplies. And they said, "Hey, we're going to go on a supply run up to this supply depot. Drop these up. Can you go with me? Can you go with them?" Like I just got walked up to and said, "Can you go with these ladies on the supply run? Safety in numbers." I was like, "Time kind of sucks, but sure, yeah, I'll go with them, no problem."
Yeah.
And so I get in the car. 3 were in one truck, and one was driving herself. And I said, "So just so you know, I know you're afraid of looting and safety numbers. I've got a noisemaker with me." And she says, "Well, that's good to know." Yeah, but she's like, "The lady in the truck back there has one too, so we're pretty good." I'm like, "Great." And so we do our supply drop, and we're coming back down. She goes, "So did you just volunteer to come with us?" And I said, "No." I said, "Well, no, yes, but no." The organizer walked straight to me and said, "Can you go with them?" And she said, "That is hilarious that I was quite accurately stereotyped to provide some sort of large male presence for this delivery."
There you go. Fit the bill.
So maybe it's the flags on the car. Maybe it's this appearance. I don't know.
Stereotypical 3%er aesthetic.
Yeah. I don't know if I go that far. Come on.
Okay. Well, you're not like 5'3" and 350 pounds.
I'm not
like
a beta
that's
male. Yeah.
That's the 3%er aesthetic to a T.
Yeah. We're taking these showers over a grate, and I've got these gallon water bags with a screw on top, and I use about a half of one, and I come back inside, and the guy's like, "Hey, you got extra water I can go shower with?" I'm like, "Sure, here you go." He comes back in and says, "I think I owe you a water bag." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "I dropped the cap." And I go, "Down the drain, right?" And he goes, "Yeah." This is a sewer grate, like the big cast iron grate,
oh, nice.
or a storm drain grate. And so I was like, "Oh, all right." So I walk outside, pick the grate up, move it, get the cap out, put the grate back, come back in, wash the cap off. And I'm like, "Oh, we're good." He goes, "That thing's heavy." And this he's fit. He's a little older, a bit smaller than me, still, athletic build. He's like, "That's really heavy. You didn't need help?"
No.
So the next day, I finished my shower, got water. He's like, "You got extra water?" "Yeah." Can I use the rest?" "Yeah." Comes back in and goes, "I'm gonna need your help again."
My God.
I said, "You dropped the cap?" And he goes, No, not the cap. Drop my ring."
Oh.
It's like, yeah. So I walk outside, pick the grate up, move it. He gets his ring. I put the grate back.
Here you go, little man.
So, but yeah, so that was it's fun. We had some joy. The hot meals, people brought in a tray of cornbread, and there was venison chili that a guy brought in a whole pot of.
Oh, badass.
He had a shit ton of cheese and bread, grilled cheese. He's like, "You guys need to be fed just as much." Some lady brought in a bag of like homemade burritos. And the consensus was that they weren't great, but I was so hungry, I demolished them.
Like,
I was like,
"This is the best food
I've ever had."
Yeah. That is honest work for you.
Yeah. That's physical labor. It's helping people. It's getting out and doing stuff, and it beats the hell out of the desk job I got.
Yeah. Awesome that you were able to get out and do that stuff. I know a whole lot of people have been dying to do. A lot of people are feeling a I must do something kind of feel right now, and I'm sure this coming weekend we'll see another influx of people.
I know of a number of caravans who are planning to head up either Friday or Saturday. I communicate with all of them. If you're bringing supplies, again, leave no trace. Don't put a load on the system.
Yeah.
But bring the blankets, bring the hand warmers, bring hot meals you could potentially share, and then bring shovels and bags and cleaning supplies, because they don't need rescue. They don't need recovery. They just need labor.
Yeah. So. I'm gonna have to share that text for you guys in a second. Well, before we head out of here, is there any last things you want to say to the people about all of this or otherwise?
Also, how can people help? I know we've kind of touched on that a little bit, but
I think that's
the people who skip through the episode.
Donations, the Martyrs Walk, Samaritan's Purse, good or bad, again, faith-based organizations will make sure the money goes where it's supposed to. Government-based organizations will rob it blind, tax the shit out of it, and put it all to admin costs.
Yeah.
Amen.
And then get ready for winter.
Yeah. Yeah, winter's going to be a fuck, so... I know that that Geisley, no affiliation. I just know that some of the guys that are involved with that are doing a pretty successful drive too. So I figure I'll shill for Geisley a little bit here. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, I think I've seen over $50,000 has been raised so far.
Yeah, so far, and they're doing great. They do good work.
Hell yeah. Love that. Yeah, DJ, any last words?
Yeah.
Before the dad advice?
The last words could be the dad advice.
Yeah. If you have nothing else, we can jump straight to dad advice.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything else. I covered pretty much everything I did and what we did while we were there and the work we shared. Dad advice: teach your kids basic skills. Teach your kids life skills. Teach your kids maybe even a little bit of survival skills. That's hands-on, that's building, that's functioning. I watched a kid who didn't know how to put a gas cap back on a gas can. Yeah, teach your kids, get them involved. When you're going to fix something, get them with you to watch you fix it. Even better, if they're a little older, guide them through how to fix it themselves. Make sure they know how things work, why they work, and have some capability to fix things.
Yeah. Very big. Alrighty, Nathan, I think we're about to get out of here.
Yes, thank you guys for coming on. Sorry for keeping you awake so late. I was doing Nathan things in the mountains. I can hear the sleepiness in both of your voices. So I'm going to let you go. Thank you for doing good things. And being there and able to go and help. I appreciate you, and I'm sure the people that are affected by Hurricane Helene have been appreciate you and people like you quite a bit. BR, I can literally see you falling asleep. Your eyes just closed for like 5 seconds.
Thank you. I'm doing my best.
You looked Asian for a second there.
You know, my body now.
You look like you could be one of my cousins.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add to that. Okay, well, yeah. DJ, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for informing the good people out there of what's going on the ground, and hopefully we have a little bit more people to work with if they're heading out there to help with efforts and separate a little bit of fact from fiction. But yes, thank you everyone for listening, and until next time.
Okay, bye.